It's time for the Thyworm Weekly Roundup with my curated news and personal gaming endeavors. Are you enjoying these? Consider subscribing. Path of Exile Delirium was released last Friday and I've been playing this game almost exclusively throughout the weekend, up until now because of this video. The coronavirus is emerging rapidly in the Netherlands and the rest of the world. We've been advised to limit social contacts to a minimum, so the time I would normally be in the pub, I'm now leveling my Herald of Purity dominating blow character, and after I made it through the early levels, the build really kicks in. The league mechanics are super interesting and I'm enjoying the fog a lot. Every map has a portal in it, some sort of mirror, that turns the entire level into delirium. Monsters get progressively harder as loot gets progressively better, which is visible in the bottom left icon. You can see what loot you're getting and which loot tier you're in. The higher, the better. Killing more monsters increases the counter. It's a very cool gameplay loop and mapping is super nice. These maps are going to be so juiced, it is beyond containable anymore. I'm level 85 currently, unlocking my Atlas primarily, and wherever I can I do Delirium. Rush to the final boss, defeat him and pick up additional shards. 300 are required to spawn the league boss. I have around 70. There are many more features such as metamorph going core, new notable crystals and creating a build and probably 3 other things, but I've mainly leveled and focused on the delirium mechanics. It's not all great though, this mist. The downside of all this fog on the screen is twofold. First, performance. It's really taking a toll on my system, which is by the way a very respectable 2080 with an i7. Generally PoE runs fine, more than fine actually, but in this league not so much. Second, visibility. Just look at this. You honestly can't see shit. I can't even see my own minimap overlay anymore because it's white on white. Some explosion indicators that instantly kill you by the way are also white. I died like 10 times without knowing what even hit me. Nonetheless, I'm having a blast. And I'm sure Grinding Gear Games got the message because all the popular Twitch streamers are saying the same thing. If you want to watch someone play in particular, go watch QDog_. I've watched him while I was leveling. I usually watch him when I'm playing PoE, it's a great stream. Funny, informative, some anime weebs, definitely recommend. In the upcoming weekly roundups I will keep you informed of my build and how it does. The build was mostly stolen from Baylor Mage. I'll link both PoE content creators down below. Last Epoch keeps teasing us with upcoming features for patch 0.7.7. I made a video about 2 of those features, the graphics and more set items and uniques. This is in addition to the new chapter, new portal, new character introductions and new ambient sounds. But there's more coming, although it is not confirmed for patch 0.7.7. Yesterday, Last Epoch also teased shrines. They work like any other action RPG basically. You either need to touch it to receive a buff or fight the monsters around it and receive a buff. There's some concept art released as well, which I'm showing here, and I think it's yet again a great addition to a game that gets more and more variety every patch. Just like with Delirium, I'm excited to dive into patch 0.7.7 and see what is new. It will release sometime this month. I would expect that to be around the end of the month because of the previously mentioned Path of Exile. Then, Wolcen. They released a statement promising to fix the game. I made a video about it giving my overview and thoughts, so check that out. The highlights are, however, that instead of adding more content to Wolcen the upcoming months, like was originally planned, the devs have decided to fix their game first, which seems like a rational decision. The comments on my video and also on Steam and Discord vary from distrust to respect. I believe these developers are inexperienced. They have made some very questionable decisions and they released a very broken product. I don't believe, as some people do, that this is simply a cash grab, a bait and switch, or anything of that nature. I know the history of Umbra and everything, but I'm working in development as well, not in games but in software, and we also have roadmaps for the upcoming years. Things we think we're going to do, but there's always something else popping up along the way, whether it is an unexpected version upgrade requirement, support issues, or a service company that goes broke. You envision a product to the best of your knowledge, but that product won't always release like that. Usually it won't. The internet historian made a beautiful documentary about No Man's Sky, about how it was perceived, how it released, how it ended up to be, but mostly how the developers must have felt through all of this. You should really watch it, because when it comes to indie studios, I feel this sentiment is true. You don't invest your own mortgage into an indie studio, work for years and years on a product, and then release it just to be a money grab. That simply doesn't make sense. That's not the way to make money, guys. There are so many ways that you can make much more money in a much more efficient and less risky way. By the way, AAA studios are exempt from this story. There is no excuse for Anthem and Fallout 76. The first, at least, seems to get fixed. The second is just pure greed packaged as a video game. So with this in mind, I hope that Wolcen gets better. I also called it out for being broken, and that's fair, but I don't believe the devs are bad human beings. If you look closely at Wolcen, you can also see that there's a ton of detail involved, that significant work was put into this. I hope they can improve it, because Wolcen could be an amazing game. Naxia, an indie action RPG, had to delay their March update due to the coronavirus. They have developers from all over the world, and while working from home should be possible, of course, I can imagine it takes a heavy toll on the productivity. No new release date has been set for the next content patch of Naxia just yet. Curse of the Dead Gods released an update and some hotfixes too. One of those hotfixes allowed me to record my gameplay, so you're watching me right now. The update, 0.17.1, introduced a very special new spear weapon, a signature sword and a new relic that gives base damage per accumulated gold. This combined with the relics that let you gain gold as you take damage have turned my character into something rather strong. I love the interactions between relics and starting powers. In March you can expect more special weapons, room variations, reskinned weapons and new relics, curses and blessings. Apart from that, the roadmap contains 2 new temples, more new weapons, curses, relics, enemies, gameplay mechanics and more. Nice and generic. The game, however, is already worth playing and it is super fun to do. I'm having a good time trying to survive in this roguelike indie slasher. Then, some personal gaming updates. There is another solo project in action RPG land called Emberheart. I'm showing you some footage of what the game currently plays like. It's just very much like Sanctum Breach, although the feel of Emberheart is a bit lighter in terms of ambience. On most fronts, however, the games are really comparable. I was thinking what to say about this, and I'm always hinging on 2 thoughts here. 1, I really respect people going out there and creating a game like this. It is for now not much more than a bunch of placeholders in early alpha, but you can see the contours of an actual game, if you look closely. I think it's amazing that people take risks, take a stand, and start developing to see where it leads, to realize their dream. And that brings me to point 2. Who's going to play this game? I like to think I'm like most people, and generally I want to play games that are finished somewhat. I personally like action RPGs that are rich in content because I want to spend a lot of time on them. With that in mind, I sort of struggle to see how these games are going to appeal to a larger audience when you can play Path of Exile for free or Diablo 3 for the same price. Creating an action RPG just by yourself and make it in such a way that it tailors towards an audience and create it in such a way that it doesn't look like it's made by a single guy is going to be very difficult, simply because they are a single guy. Sanctum Breach faces the same challenge. I like that game, but would I ever play or cover it if I didn't have a YouTube channel? Probably not. Because there are so many other games to play that are polished and that I don't feel like an alpha tester. I do hope both solo devs from Emberheart and Sanctum Breach will build a product someday that can compete with other indie action RPGs. Legend of Keepers was so kind to send me a review key. I already covered the prologue, a demo version some time ago. The full game isn't much different, but it's very fun and challenging if you like this sort of thing. You're a dungeon master and you need to prevent these heroes from looting the treasure. You can deploy troops, traps and spells to make their lives miserable. Using a random event map, you get the opportunity to train troops, build better traps, go on missions to find artifacts and upgrade your dungeon master with better defenses. I played another run in the release version and I must say this game feels good to play. It's not the most visually stunning, but the combat gameplay is rather deep with a lot of tactical planning going on. By making conscious decisions on which heroes you place in which order and which characters cast their spells, you can turn the tide of battle in a single fight. If you like what you see, go check it out. It releases in early access March 19th. I've also been given a key to Eternal Edge Plus, a game that was listed as potentially interesting for February in my video on which games to play in February, until it didn't launch. I played it now and I can see why. There are a lot of basic polishing features missing, like the ability to sort of properly play this with mouse and keyboard. The UI isn't looking great, sounds and mixing isn't done yet. I've crashed a lot to desktop. This game just needs a lot of work still, even before it should be released to early access. Despite all this, the game could be promising. It's a Zelda-like adventure game, and during my few hours in it, I generally was enjoying myself, even though the whole experience felt a bit generic. I'm not sure which audience they're targeting for this on PC. The game used to be on the Switch, but is now ported. I'm curious to see if it will gain some traction, but more importantly, if it deserves to. Last but definitely not least, I want to thank you guys for all the support over the last month or two. The channel has grown over 2800 subs and we're increasing steadily. Thanks so much for that. The numbers itself don't mean that much to me because I just keep making what I want to make and I have no ambition to become a full-time YouTuber or something. These videos, the weekly roundups, aren't particularly successful in terms of numbers, you could argue, but I'm enjoying the research and filming it. Plus, you guys seem to appreciate the updates. And that's what matters. And that's all I have for you this week. Follow me on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next week. Love you all. Bye bye.